Anthony Swofford, better known as Swoff, reflects on how a soldier never truly forgets the feeling of holding a weapon. During boot camp, a drill instructor named Fitch publicly insults Swoff's father, calling him a disgrace to the U.S. Army. Soon after, Swoff experiences the same brutal treatment himself, as the instructors constantly humiliate and push the new recruits to their limits. The harsh training quickly makes him question whether joining the military was the right choice. After graduating from basic training, Swoff and the other Marines arrive at Camp Pendleton in 1989. While traveling there, he quietly looks at a photo of his girlfriend. When he checks in, the receiving officer asks about his unusual last name. Swoff explains that his great-grandfather once served at the same camp many years earlier. He is then assigned to Golf Company, a unit the officer jokingly describes as being filled with troublemakers and misfits. Not long after arriving, the senior Marines decide to play a cruel prank on him. They tie Swoff to his bed and pretend they're about to brand the letters USMC onto his skin with a hot iron, just like a permanent tattoo. Terrified, Swoff passes out before anything happens. When he wakes up, he realizes the iron was never hot at all. It was just another prank meant to scare the new guy. Later that night, a Marine named Troy greets him with a simple phrase, "Welcome to the suck." It isn't exactly a warm welcome, but it perfectly describes the difficult life waiting for him. Soon after, Swoff meets Staff Sergeant Sykes, a respected Marine veteran who encourages him to try out for the Scout Sniper training program. Before the training begins, Swoff gets sick and spends a long time recovering in the clinic. Before leaving, Sykes tells him to report for sniper training on Monday. Later that day, Swoff shows up late for bugle practice at 6 a.m. Instead of punishing him, Sykes jokes around by telling him to play the bugle using only his mouth, making Swoff the target of another embarrassing prank. The intense Scout Sniper training finally begins. Swoff and the other trainees spend countless hours running, crawling through thick brush, hiding from enemies, and sharpening their marksmanship. The training is so demanding that one recruit loses his life. After surviving the brutal course, Swoff officially earns the title of sniper and is paired with Troy as his spotter. Soon after, the new sniper team takes part in the traditional rifle pledge ceremony. Not long afterward, Iraq invades Kuwait, and Swoff's battalion is deployed to the Persian Gulf as part of Operation Desert Shield. Flying in on a commercial airliner, they arrive for their first real mission. During a briefing, Lieutenant Colonel Kaczynski tells the battalion that their objective is to protect the oil fields while preparing for the possibility of capturing Saddam Hussein. Once they reach their desert base, the Marines are told to stay hydrated, patrol the surrounding area, and get used to the harsh environment. Even though they're eager to see combat, most of their days are spent training in heavy chemical protection suits under the blazing desert sun. After spending 62 days waiting in the desert, boredom and frustration begin to take over. Many of the Marines become anxious that their wives or girlfriends back home may not stay faithful during the long deployment. To make things worse, photos begin circulating of women who have left or cheated on members of the unit, crushing the morale of many soldiers. A public bulletin board is filled with photos of women who have left or cheated on Marines while they were deployed. At the same time, news reporters arrive to interview the soldiers about their lives, their experiences, and what it's like serving in Saudi Arabia. Even though the desert temperature reaches 112 degrees, Staff Sergeant Sykes orders his men to play a game of football while wearing their heavy NBC protective suits. He wants the reporters to see how tough the Marines are, even under the brutal heat. But once the cameras start rolling, the game quickly turns into complete chaos. The Marines pile on each other, joke around, and even act out a few inappropriate scenes. Embarrassed by their lack of discipline, Sykes immediately orders the reporters and camera crew to leave. As punishment for their behavior, the Marines are forced to build and tear down a massive pyramid made of sandbags over and over again, even while it rains. Exhausted from the punishment, they finally return to camp later that night and receive letters from their loved ones. Swoff gets a letter from his girlfriend, Christina, but instead of bringing him comfort, it only makes him more suspicious. She mentions having a new friend, causing Swoff to worry that she may be cheating on him, or that it's only a matter of time before she does. The most humiliating moment, however, happens to Detman. His wife sends him what looks like a copy of The Deer Hunter on VHS. But when everyone gathers to watch it, they discover it's actually a homemade adult video showing her sleeping with their neighbor. The tape was supposedly her revenge for Detman's own history of cheating, leaving him completely humiliated in front of the entire platoon. During an improvised Christmas celebration, Fergus accidentally starts a fire that spreads to a nearby tent and ignites a box of signal flares. Since Swoff was supposed to be standing guard but had asked Fergus to take his place, he is held responsible for the accident. As punishment, Swoff is demoted from Lance Corporal back to private and assigned one of the most degrading jobs in camp, burning human waste. The endless punishments, the unbearable desert heat, and the overwhelming boredom slowly push him toward a mental breakdown. His growing loneliness and constant fear that Christina is being unfaithful only make things worse. At one point, Swoff completely loses control and nearly shoots Fergus after threatening him during a heated confrontation. Eventually, after months of waiting, the coalition launches the ground invasion known as Operation Desert Storm. The Marines are ordered to move toward the border between Saudi Arabia and Kuwait, preparing for their first real combat mission. Before the attack begins, every Marine is given a PB pill to help protect them against possible chemical weapons. As they wait for the assault to begin, the platoon digs defensive fighting positions in the desert. Just before the operation starts, Sykes quietly tells Swoff that Troy had hidden his criminal record when he enlisted in the Marine Corps. Once the war is over, Troy will likely be discharged from the service. Later, Troy receives the traditional USMC branding on his leg as part of a Marine ritual. As the Marines push deeper into the desert, they encounter almost no resistance from enemy forces. Instead, one of their biggest concerns becomes friendly fire, as American A-10 attack aircraft could mistakenly target their own vehicles during the advance. The unit eventually reaches the infamous Highway of Death, where the road is covered with burned-out vehicles and the charred remains of Iraqi soldiers, revealing the devastating aftermath of the air campaign. As the Marines continue moving forward, they come across massive oil wells set on fire by the retreating Iraqi forces. Thick black smoke fills the sky, and crude oil rains down on them as they struggle to dig fighting holes. Seeing how dangerous the conditions have become, Staff Sergeant Sykes orders the squad to move to a safer location where the wind can keep the oil away. While digging new positions, Swoff discovers that Fowler has desecrated the body of a dead Iraqi soldier. Furious, Swoff nearly attacks him but manages to control his anger. Instead, he quietly removes the body and gives the fallen soldier a proper burial. At last, Swoff and Troy receive the sniper mission they've been waiting for. Their objective is to eliminate 2 Iraqi officers believed to be hiding inside the control tower of a damaged airport. The 2 snipers take up position inside an abandoned building, and Swoff carefully lines up his shot through the scope. Just as he's about to pull the trigger, another Marine unit arrives and calls in an airstrike instead. Desperate to finally fire his rifle in combat, Troy begs the commanding officer to let them take the shot first. His request is denied, and the disappointment completely breaks him. Moments later, American fighter jets destroy the entire target with bombs. Still shaken, Swoff and Troy remain at their position for so long that they accidentally miss their pickup. As night falls, they try to find their way back across the empty desert but soon become hopelessly lost. That's when they receive the news everyone has been waiting for: the war is officially over. The Marines celebrate by gathering around a large bonfire, relieved that they survived the conflict. During the celebration, Swoff quietly admits to Troy that he never fired a single shot during the entire war. Troy simply smiles and tells him, "You can now." Swoff raises his sniper rifle and empties the magazine into the night sky. Soon, the other Marines who also never had the chance to fire their weapons join in, creating one final salute to a war that ended before they could prove themselves in battle. The Marines eventually return to the United States, where they're welcomed home with victory parades and cheering crowds. During one celebration, an aging Vietnam veteran climbs onto their bus and congratulates them. But his haunted expression reminds everyone that coming home doesn't always mean the war is truly over. After leaving the military, each Marine moves on with life in a different way. Swoff returns home only to discover that his girlfriend has already moved on with someone else. Cortez becomes a father of 3, and Sykes continues serving in the Marine Corps during Operation Iraqi Freedom. Years later, Fergus unexpectedly visits Swoff with heartbreaking news: Troy has passed away. After attending Troy's funeral and reuniting with several of his former comrades, Swoff reflects on everything they went through together and realizes that, even after the fighting ends, war leaves a lasting mark on everyone who survives it. Jarhead delivers a different kind of war story. Instead of focusing on non-stop action, it shows the psychological toll of waiting, uncertainty, and loneliness. Swoff and his fellow Marines spend months preparing for combat, only to discover that the hardest battles often happen inside their own minds. The film reminds us that war isn't always about pulling the trigger, it's about the emotional scars, broken relationships, and memories that stay with soldiers long after they return home. That's what makes Jarhead such a powerful and unforgettable military drama.